Today at the Slowfish Seminar, we will be discussing the strategy of the commons being our shared ocean resources.
So I'm going to give you some examples with illustrations of concrete cases of how we can use different ideas to try and manage fishing. The Mediterranean is tiny, it's less than 1% of the world's oceans, but in this less than 1% of the world's ocean you have over 20%, between 20 and 30% of the world's marine biodiversity. So we have a huge concentration of species in the Mediterranean Sea. So we have a huge responsibility in terms of managing those species. And on top of this, 80% of the species in the Mediterranean are along the coastline at depths between 0 and 50 meters. Along the coastline we have a huge amount of human activity. It's not a surprise to anybody. We have over 350 million human beings living either permanently or temporarily on the coast. Of course, we have a lot of tourists that come to the Mediterranean. The Mediterranean is home to 1/3 of the world's total merchant shipping as well. So there's a huge pressure around the Mediterranean basin for human beings and ships. We haven't listed all of them, but out of 519 species, 50% of them are threatened by fishing activities in the Mediterranean, on the coast, as well as in the streams, inland, and also out to sea. So these species are interconnected, but not only that, they also use very different habitats throughout the course of their life. So that complicates our understanding and our knowledge of the system even further. Traditionally, big fishing institutes in the oceans or in the Mediterranean Sea, they try to manage fishing activities because fishing is the main impact. They try to manage fisheries only focusing on a single species. A fishing authority will concentrate on one fish species, will not take into account the diversity of the habitats used by that species, and will not take into account the interaction between the different species. And for the Mediterranean, it does not work. Such a model will not work. There is no fishing model based on stock which is effective in the Mediterranean on the coastal band. I'm going to give you an example here of a model which we developed in the Porquerolles National Park, so that's in France, in the Mediterranean, off the coast. In terms of fishing, which are the categories of species which are the most sought after? At the bottom we have the trophic level. The closer it is to 2, there you have grass eaters, herbivores, and then if it's towards 4 and 5, you have carnivores. Using this kind of model, we can also calculate something which is extremely interesting for the fishermen, and that is the quantity of fish that are produced by an MPA and which will be exported from that marine protected area. Not all MPAs are saturated by, or not protected by walls or barriers. If there's a big production of fish, then those fish can go out, they can be exported out of that MPA. When we have an MPA, normally there's no fishing there, no small-scale fishermen fish in the MPA. That part of the sea has been taken away from them, so that can have a positive effect for them. There's a model for Corsica which shows that there are almost 3 tons per square kilometre are exported every year. For Porquerolles, 8 tons are exported every year. Where do those 8 tons go? They go outside of that MPA. So 8 tons of fish for Porquerolles or 3 tons of fish in Corsica can be produced inside a reserve area and exported out of that zone. It's the fishermen who are really involved, and they put forward their proposals. The fishermen can't make the laws, but what they can do is put forward suggestions. The fishermen can say, these are our problems, we would like to set up management mechanisms, and given that, the state takes over and puts in place, with the agreement of these users, of the fishermen, the government puts in place different management measures. What is the main factor which transpired? It wasn't the existence of zones which are fully protected. It wasn't the intensity of fishing. It was the commitment of the fishermen, the fact that these fishermen were directly involved in the management structure. If they are not the stakeholders, if they do not have any real decision-making power, then it is impossible to have an MPA which functions correctly. So this is a model for managing coastal zones. In the Mediterranean, we have 80% of our resources, so managing the coastal band in terms of using our resources, it must much necessarily involve co-management, i.e. the involvement of the fishermen. If we have the right information, if we have all levels of users participating, if we put in the information gathering, if we put that into use, then we will be able to work with that kind of model. And when you have that kind of model, we will be able to put forward proper methods of management of these complex systems, and it will work. Thank you very much.